The guidelines in the UK for maximum levels of alcohol are now 14 units a week for men and women. And what I wanted to do today was just look at the amount of units that we find in common drinks, and to get across the message that it's a good idea not to judge the units by your glass or your bottle size. You need to drill a bit deeper down than that to know what you're really having. So if we start with wine, if you have a 12% alcohol by volume wine, we call that ABV, 12% ABV wine, which is very typical in a pub or a bar these days, then if you have a 175ml glass, which frankly I think looks a bit small, that would actually have 2.1 units of alcohol. If you go up to a 250ml glass, which I think is much more common, again in a pub or bar, if you're serving yourself a glass at home, then that actually goes up to 3 units in one glass. So the big difference between those two sizes in just with a 12% ABV wine. If you move up to a 13% ABV wine, which is very common for a red wine, again in a pub or bar, then a smaller 175ml glass is 2.3 units, and a larger 250ml glass is 3.3 units. So you say to yourself, whichever of those of you have had, you say, I've just had a glass of wine. And I don't know, but there's somewhere in your head probably going, and that's just 1 unit, but it's obviously not. You can see it's not. If you move on to something like Prosecco, they're very often around 10 to 11% ABV, so that's a slightly lower alcohol choice. And then these days we actually have some lighter wines on the market as well. This is a 5.5% ABV wine. Now you can have a 175ml glass that gives you 1 unit of alcohol. So very different from this to this. And then again, if you look at lagers, very commonly you'll go out and you'll have a bottle of lager. Well, this bottle is actually only 275 mils, and it's the alcohol is 4.8% alcohol by volume. So you would have 1.3 units in that one bottle. If you go up to a slightly higher ABV lager, so that would be just over 5%, then that one bottle, which is 330 mils, not that obvious that there's a big difference, but there is, then the units actually go up to 1.6 per bottle. So you go from 1.3, the lower alcohol by volume lager, in a smaller bottle, to a higher ABV lager in a larger bottle, and the units jump from 1.3 to 1.6. You multiply this up, 3 of those is 4 units, 3 of those is 5 units. So over an evening it can make quite a big difference. So there we are. I would say take-home message from this little video is don't judge your units by your glass or your bottle. Look a bit deeper.